Another wonderful idea I got some time ago. Here it is, guys, finally doing it. What if Naruto was like Ayanokoji? Yes, guys, from Classroom of the Elites. If you're not aware of what that anime is, I would suggest go ahead and check it out. You can watch it in both sub and dub, whichever you prefer because I believe they're all out now. So yeah, the MC, Ayanokoji. Let's take everything that he is and give it to Naruto. And let's see how exactly is this going to play out with a little bit of a twist. So yeah, if you're new, I have 3 more channels: Anime King 2, and Anime Symbol. I even post a recent series brand new over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Was a Hyuga Bastard, so go ahead, check out that and enjoy. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the others. So without further ado, you are wasting any more time, let's begin this now, guys. There was destruction all around, fighting taking place everywhere. A massive underground facility was being raided from every single angle. The opposing forces were trying their best to fight back. None of them had any distinguished sign to show what village they were from, because they weren't from any village. They were soldiers of a very powerful man. He goes by the name Orochimaru. He was one of the legendary Sanins. While the group was no longer together, their name was still feared all over the elemental nation. And that man was once a part of that group until he was forced to flee from his own village due to his sick, twisted experiments. But in his haste to leave the village, he did not leave alone. Many things were taken and people as well. Courtesy of why this was now going on. After 12 long years of searching, even longer for another Sanin, they finally found information that led them to one base that would provide them what they were looking for the longest time now. After all, it has been 12 years. Descending upon the base, having sent word back to Konoha, Jiraiya of the Sanin. He wasn't alone. Jiraiya was a very powerful man. Yes, he was. However, he was one man, while no member within this facility could handle him. He feared that he would arrive to find the Sanin there, and he would have to take on Orochimaru. And in doing so, he might lose the boy once again. So against his pride, he decided to send word to Konoha and the Hokage. Send a 3-man team, a very powerful 3-man team, consisting of the elites of elites. This was a very dangerous operation. For the past 12 years, Orochimaru has been in possession of a weapon that can annihilate nations, that can flatten mountains with a single swing of its tail. So this had to be put to the number 1 priority. The boy has to be retrieved. However, to Jiraiya's surprise, Orochimaru wasn't there. Given who these people were guarding, he believed the man was there, but he was not. So as the Anvus swept across the base, having spent the last 2 hours coming up with their plan, they ripped through the hallways as they were stopped by the no-name ninjas. They cut them down one after another. Orochimaru was smart. He was cooking up something really big. Therefore, he couldn't allow for the Konoha shinobis to find out who he was associated with. So the ninjas did not present any identity to show what kind of allegiance they had. Deeper within the base, two sound ninjas were racing towards a room. As they immediately started, they turned the knob and opened it, but it was empty. "Where is he?" the other one said, knowing that they had to get him out of here, because the one they feared the most was Orochimaru. Despite the fact that they might die today, the Sannin would make their death 1,000 times more painful. However, they were alerted by soft footsteps. Turning their gaze, all of this was for a child. A 12-year-old boy, possessing blonde hair. However, his blonde was a unique blonde. It was mixed with red, giving it a more orange outlook, with the two colors almost blending half and half. His eyes were blue, calm and relaxed, which was strange for a child, given all of the excitement and explosions that were taking place. One of them ran towards him. "We've been found. We have to get out of here. We're moving to the north base," the one on the left said. "I don't think so," the boy said. Both men were confused. "Do you have any idea what you're saying? Don't you understand what is going on?" "Of course I do," the young child said. "However, I'm not running away." "We don't have time for this," the one on the left said. The one on the right hesitated though, as he knew better than to simply attack this boy, try to knock him out. "You know, it would be quite believable for you two to run away. I mean, given the amount of destruction that is currently being felt through these halls, there is nothing you could have done to stop this force. And I was simply taken because the opposing forces were just too strong. I think that would be the best excuse. Not to mention if you relay perfectly who exactly it was, perhaps he will spare your life for that. We can't leave, and you know that." The one on the right stuttered. "Even though we were not directly charged to bring you in, we will be slaughtered for, not at least, giving our life to bring you back. You must come with us," the one on the left said. The boy looked at the both of them. "Here they come," he said. The original one that wanted to knock out the boy, his own fear allowed him to move, as he swung his arm trying to hit the boy at the back of his neck. However, the boy ducked underneath his blow. The other one, realizing that they had no other choice, lashed out, trying to grab the boy in a submission hold, which he did. But his arm was too lax. The boy slipped out of his grab. He rolled away before getting back to his feet. Both of them jumped at him. As he flipped, using chakra, he held onto the ceiling as they knocked their heads together. Trying to catch someone in a small hallway like this was really stupid, especially jumping. As the both of them fell down, immediately getting back to their feet, the one on the left pulled out his weapon as he gripped the kunai in his hand. "So we're getting serious. Enough of your games. You're going to come with us now," he said, pointing it towards the boy. As the other one pulled out his kunai as well, the boy raised his hand and motioned for them to come. The one on the left was the first one to rush in, using the weapon not to kill but to wound him. Yes, as he tried his best. Unfortunately though, the boy's evasion skills were too great. He dodged each of the swipes with such ease it seemed like he was simply stepping away from those swipes, and the man could not touch him. The other one went behind him and they decided to flank him, trapping him in the center. However, he started to dodge the both of them. His gaze locked on their weapons. The both of them drive forward, to stab him, but not in a path that would end his life or cause too much blood loss. It was in that moment he stopped evading and he hit their arms at the same time. However, he hit the first one with his right arm, causing him to tilt slightly. He then spun and hit the second one. In his left hand, he pulled something out of his pocket, a small little scalpel. He threw it. It pierced through the ones on the right foot. With that, the pain caused him to stumble forward, and with the additional hit that he gave the man on his arm, he stumbled right into his friend the moment the child moved. The both of them were not going slow, so they were unable to stop themselves in this small hallway as their weapons ripped directly into one another. They dropped to the ground as they were bleeding heavily. If my calculations are correct, you just hit each other's carotid artery. So, you have a couple of minutes left. Well, unless you get proper medical treatment quickly. However, given the situation of what is taking place, I doubt that is going to happen anytime soon. So why don't you spend your final moments thinking about how better your life would have been if you simply ran away, or maybe even leave this life completely and take on a new venture. I did give you the option. Well, I suppose not that last one, he said. With that, he started to walk away, not before taking up at the scalpel that he stabbed in the man's leg. As he used their own clothing to wipe the blood off, he made his way down 3 hallways. As he arrived, venturing outside, taking the entryway that led him to the outside, a different one from the one that they took, so no one would suspect a thing. So as he stepped on the grass, the fight was still going on inside, as chaos was still reigning. He simply sat down and waited right there, observing and listening to what was going on. After a couple of minutes, the envoys met up with Jiraiya as they all split up to venture in a different part of the base. The captain of each team reported back. He's not here. The sensor could not pick up anything. The remaining ninjas that were here had fled. However, Jiraiya had ensured that a few of them would be restrained so that they could get answers. However, reporting back to that area, the Sannin was shocked to find each and every one of them dead. Confusion marred their features. They were bound, their hands restrained. They couldn't have done this. However, there was bloody footsteps that led to another part that were led straight into the woods behind the facility. Jiraiya cursed, believing that all of them had fled, but it seems one returned to annihilate the others to make sure there was no loose ends. However, they could have simply freed them. Perhaps, due to some of their injuries, they believed that it was best that they wrap it up. So none of them could be broken to give information on the Sannin. One of the Andu stepped forward though, as he noticed the work that was done. Their throats weren't simply slit. All of their pressure points were taken out to make sure that they would die as quickly as possible. Whoever did this was someone that was very smart, at least smart enough to know a lot about the human body. However, dumb enough to left behind a footprint that headed to the back of the facility that led to the forest behind it. They could use this to trap them. However, it was that moment that the sensor picked up on something outside of the facility. What is it? The captain of that team spoke up. There's someone out there. How did they get past? The captain said. Jiraiya decided to make a move to find out who exactly it was, being the strongest amongst them just in case. However, the sensor informed him that The pressure that he was feeling was greatly subdued, almost like the person was deliberately just trying to give them a heads up by flaring their chakras slightly. Making their way outside, Jiraiya saw a boy standing there rather calmly. From the distance, his hair almost seemed a bit darker orange. On closer inspection, though, you could see the two colors if you focus. His blue eyes and his 3 whisker marks that resided on both of his cheeks was the dead giveaway to who he was. The Sannin made his way towards the child. However, his guard was fully up, believing that this was some sort of trap. As why would the child simply be right here while they were searching for him inside? There is nothing to worry about. This is no trap. I am 100% alone. One of you must be a censor. You should inform him about that. The boy said, standing there calmly. Jiraiya glanced toward the censor, who nodded. And besides, even if this was, I highly doubt that I have the capability to defeat you all. It's not right, he said. As he was standing there, the others, who had circled around him by moving so fast through the trees, stood there waiting for confirmation on what to do. You don't seem surprised at all by what is going on, said Jiraiya. Of course not, why should I be? I've waited for the past couple of years for someone from my village to find me. If you're wondering, yes, I am Naruto Uzumaki. However, you should see that by my features, and for more reasons than one. He said, stepping towards the Sannin. Time skip. At Konoha, Hiruzen Sarutobi was waiting for anything that would be sent back. That they finally find the boy. After all these years, every single day that he entered the office, he felt like the eyes of Minato Namikaze was judging him. After all those 2 gave for the village, sacrificing their son and their life in order to ensure that Konoha was safe, and yet he failed to do the one thing that he promised, to keep Naruto safe. He failed so badly. 8 months after Naruto was brought into this world, as a baby, Hiruzen had made sure that there was a nurse to watch over him. His status was kept a secret during that time, so as far as the nurse was considering, he was a simple child who just lost his parents. However, Hiruzen had envoys watching over him, just to make sure that everything was safe there. The boy did have the 9 tails inside of him, and there were other worries and threats in case this information got leaked. They rotated shifts. However, it was 8 months after the 9 tails attack that Orochimaru decided to flee the village. The Sannin had been here. However, Hiruzen was getting close to very disturbing things that he was doing, so he had to kick his plan into overdrive. He took baby Naruto with him when he fled. In the process, he slaughtered both of the envoys. Well, he thought he did, but one survived for long enough to inform them on what happened. And for the next 12 years, they searched everywhere for the boy. But they fail every single time until Jiraiya recently got some information that a child matching that description was spotted in the area, which led to a base that Orochimaru had. After all the hopes that they lost over the years, they believed that this would simply be just one of those rumors as well that was passing through his network. Perhaps he would be too late when he got there, but when Jiraiya arrived, the base was still very active. Not wanting to walk into something that would eventually cause him to lose the boy again, he sent word back to Konoha by a messenger toad. He then got backup and thus they raided the base, and Hiruzen was waiting ever since. He could not face a statue. He could not face a portrait of Minato, as the man's eyes were constantly judging him for losing his son, for not being able to protect the boy that he left everything to, his hopes and dreams after sacrificing his life. Yes, it was hard to even face that portrait on the wall as he was waiting. However, the most greatest news came to him when the envoys returned with some rather fantastic news. Time skip. Naruto was seated as there was a couch and there was a soft sofa. A man entered the room. Blonde hair, light green eyes. As he had a pad in his hand, a notepad. He gave Naruto a soft smile as he stepped inside, making his way as he sat down in the chair opposite Naruto. He took notice of what Naruto decided to sit in, the sofa or the chair. "My name is Inoichi Yamanaka, and you're Naruto Uzumaki. It's a pleasure to meet you," he said. Naruto merely nodded his head at the man. "Do you know why you're here?" Inoichi said. "Well, considering that I spent the last 12 years isolated away from my home with a psychopath that seemed to have a vested interest in experiments, tampering with the human boundary of life and death, to truly understand the stigma of death itself, not to mention with the things that he's done, which I'm sure are deplorable to most, I can understand many skepticism to finally being free and return back to a home that I never knew was my home. There might be some ill-adjusted feelings from my future actions, considering how easy it is to mentally brainwash someone into believing that what is best for them is for siding with someone who has done horrendous things. However, the mind is a tool that could be tweaked in many ways. Is that about sums it up? You're a brilliant child, I see, Inoichi said. So how about we do not beat around the bush with one another? He said, putting down the notepad. Why don't you tell me your experience there? I know, reliving the past can be truly tragic. However, as you said it yourself, there are some unwanted things that we must see and must learn to understand. How you find yourself here right now. And there is also questions on your name and the fact that you're aware of it, and several other key notes. I will answer all your questions to the best of my ability. I like someone that doesn't like to waste my time and beat around the bush, so yes, whatever you like to know, ask it, said Naruto. Okay, let's begin with your name. He told me, Naruto said. It was a way of psychiatrical, mental, mind-twisting therapy, trying to make one feel familiar with something that is attached to them, gifted by one that you would come to look up to as someone to respect. So there's no lingering attachment, Inoichi said. If there was, it wouldn't be something that you would be able to get out of me right here and now. Because my devotion would be so deep, I would rather end my own life than give you anything that would threaten the one that I come to see as my master. Superior in a way. That is how deep one devotion can go. However, my mind is clean from that impurity, said Naruto. And why exactly should we believe you, Inoichi said? As I've stated before, you're a very smart boy. You could be simply manipulating us with your words. Yes, you're right. However, I've seen what that devotion can get you. I've seen the twisted things that he's done. Things that he showed me on a daily basis. I spent the last few years not bound, not confined. So you are free to roam around. Yes, another form of mental manipulation, showing the target that they're free in an enclosed space, to make them believe that their actions are theirs, but in reality, it is nothing of the sense. And that is why he allowed you freedom, Inuichi said. Not exactly. He wanted me to know that there is no point of running away because I could not. I did not possess the necessary strength to claim his life. I tried, but I failed miserably, and I paid for that. If my body did not heal unnaturally like other humans, you would see scars lining me from head to toe. The Sanin is a very wicked person. When he cannot persuade with things that he could give you, he persuades with fear, temptation of knowing that your next action might lead to something unforgivable. So why tell you anything in the first place? Why tell you your true name? I suppose that you were briefed about everything before coming to speak with me. Yes, Inuichi said. Well then, it was a way for me to hate Konoha. He wanted to use the power that is inside of me to ensure I will bring future destruction on the village. How so? Inuichi said. He told me that out of all the other children I was chosen to be a scapegoat, for the blame to fall on someone else for the destruction that took place within the village. They had to have someone to blame. He tried to fill my head with a lot of nonsense, trying to make me believe that it was in my best interest to harm them. He needed a way to put me in the situation, to put me in the heart of pain and suffering. He even went as far as to try to implant memories into my mind itself. However, due to certain restrictions that he cannot surpass because of what is inside of me, he failed. You say that of all the things that he's done to you, how were you able to overcome all of that? Inuichi said. Simple. I focus on one thing. And what is that? My burning desire to end his life. I told you about his harsh treatments. He did all of this with that arrogant smile on his face. He wants you to know that there is nothing that you can do. He wants you to know that you are helpless, weak to defy him. He sealed away the power that is inside of me. He sealed away my own chakra as well. And I was put through hell for a few years to ensure that I understand who's in charge. My constant defying him is proving to be bothersome, he said. So he made sure I understand where and how things are about to go from now on. I must admit, I was a rather rambunctious child in my younger years. Sometimes I wonder if, back then, I never truly understand the word fear or danger, given the situations that I found myself in, without knowing that I came close to death more than once. He wanted to use that at first, but he soon realized that I was too hard to control. My mind was frustrated with the constant moving, the constant orders. I always felt like I never belonged. He tried to reconcile this by proving to me that I indeed belong here on his side. But each action that I took proved to him more and more that controlling me would be a much difficult task. So he tried to break me instead. For 7 years, I was placed in a white room. That is what it was called. A few of his other top scientists and doctors that truly understand the inside and outside of the human body. They monitor us, Inuichi said. Yes, I was subject number 4. There were 30 other children, and every one of them died. We were injected with all sorts of things, pushed to the very limit. Orochimaru was trying to create an army of super children soldiers, but they went too far. And the only reason why I'm still breathing is because the beasts that rest inside of me provide me with an extraordinary healing ability. So I had to watch as people I've come to know as friends, they died right in front of my eyes, time and time again. I had to keep my anger in check, knowing that it might cost me more than just the people around me, because I was proving to be much more durable than them. And thus I kept it. And the more I go, the angrier I got. And I focused on that rage, pushing everything else away, the pain and suffering, knowing that one day I will finally be free. And that day has come. So as I said to you, my only true desire is to kill that man. Naruto said calmly, as Inoichi nodded to the boy, but he wasn't done yet. They spent the next 3 hours talking. At the end of it, Inoichi stepped out of the room. The door behind him, there was a massive window. Behind that window was a very powerful man. His name was Hayashi Hyuga. Hayashi was the head of the Hyuga clan. Inoichi stepped outside. As he looked at the man, Hiruzen Sarutobi was seated in a chair in the hall. They were in a very special department of the Anvu Manger facility. The cells were a few feet down. This was the interrogation room. Another was there as well. His name was Ibiki, head interrogator. And he was not alone. There was a woman there as well, Kurna Yuai. Each of them were here for a specific reason. Inoichi was the top in his field at understanding the human mind. Kurnai, due to her title as a Genjutsu mistress, several in fact, she's taking on a rather more emotional role, given that her main thing was understanding the inner workings of the mind as well. However, on a more spiritual level, because of her Genjutsu, she was able to theorize and understand someone from a simple conversation with them. It was something that she had learned greatly to enhance her control over reality, seeing that Genjutsu was all about the aspect of manipulating one's mind. As for Ibiki, well, he was the master interrogator, the best in Konoha, and Hayashi Hyuga had the most powerful tool, the Byakugan, at the moment that was needed to tell between reality and, well, false reality. Small gestures, small twitch or movements. So yes, Hiruzen had entrusted all of them with just who Naruto was, not just about the Nine Tails, as majority of people did not know who Naruto was due to the great secret that was kept, his parentage that is. So yes, now all of them here knew. As they all stood there, Hiruzen was the one that voiced the question, as Naruto could not hear them from the inside. Thoughts, Hiruzen said, wanting to hear what they think, before allowing Naruto back into the village. Despite he was taken against his will, they had to vet the boy to ensure that Orochimaru did not place any long-lasting damage on the boy. Hayashi was the one to go first. Everything that he told was truthful. I could not detect a hint of a lie coming from him. He's a very smart child, but at the same time, no one is that perfect that they would be able to fool my eyes. His words are laced with misdirections. There are some things that he's hidden away from us. However, his desire to kill Orochimaru is 100% truthful. But there are things that he's not giving away. All of them could see that. Inoichi was the first that had noticed that. Having already assessed everything the moment he walked in, down to where Naruto sat down, Kurenai was the one to go next. He's very smart indeed. Exceptionally smart for someone his age. He's also found a way to stunt his own emotions. Something that is incredibly difficult to do on your own. I doubted that Orochimaru tried any emotional stunting program on him. Because to him, having the boy have emotional fear, loss, pain would be beneficial. So this child has not only learned, however is effectively stunted himself to ensure that the side effects of everlasting pain would never affect him. Even as you spoke to him in there, I can see that most of his emotional response aren't correlating with anything that brings pain or sadness. For someone to do this, especially at his age, it's no short of genius, Kurenai said. As Ibiki went next, I've interrogated many people over the years, and what Kurenai said is truthful. His responses were calm. He knows that he's being watched by us out here. Not the exact number, but he knows that he's currently being watched at the moment. He gave us the information that we needed, knowing that there is no point to lying to us. This child wanted to return back to the village. Perhaps his desire to truly kill Orochimaru presented that feat that would allow him to get separated from the Sannin, that will allow him to finally get his revenge. As he stated multiple times, he lacked the necessary strength to kill Orochimaru. Inoichi was the one that finished things off. Given his assessment to the Hokage, all that they said was very truthful. Naruto was smart. Too smart. He was able to manipulate people easily. Inoichi could see that from simply talking to him. He was used to using words to get what he wanted. In fact, he said that he had to do things that did not please him, so that he wouldn't be seen as a hopeful person that would one day escape. So he was willing to push boundaries, to do whatever it takes to ensure that he would succeed in his venture. But Inoichi did not believe that Naruto had any ties or is linked to Orochimaru by being a servant of him. There was still much that they had to do, but his assumption so far that Naruto did not pose an immediate threat. Jiraiya had already personally examined the seal on Naruto's stomach, and the seal was fully intact. It was a bit looser. How Orochimaru pulled off a feat like this without using the key? That was rather concerning. However, the seal was still fully intact. The nine-tailed power will not leak out. But Naruto did tell them all that Orochimaru had him trained with the beast power. However, he did not know. How was he able to loosen the seal? His knowledge on Fuinjutsu was not great, but the sheer fact that Orochimaru was able to reach so far in his venture made them think what he would do in a couple more years if Naruto was not found. So with that underway, for the next couple of months, Naruto was seeing Inoichi on a regular basis. He never put up a fuss. He never complained. He talked. He gave every single place that he's been, given the environment, given everything that he's seen. Hiruzen had his envoys venture out. He had Jiraiya venture out. Some of these bases they came across, ninjas that were under Orochimaru command. However, they all ended with a lot of death. But after the 5th base, the others started to show up as empty. It seems that the Sannin caught on to what was going on and decided that it was in his best interest to move to somewhere that Naruto has never seen before. The sheer fact that Orochimaru was not spotted or seen, not even once, led them to believe that he was onto them. However, they found some rather disturbing things that would make most people's stomach turn. Yes, many things. As Naruto had recalled many things that was done to him. Even Inoichi started to feel sympathy for the boy. Having gone into this with a professional mind, he started to feel sorry for said child. However, Naruto was able to block out many things by what Kunai had said. She wanted to see just exactly how far this venture, so she had a sit down with him after Hokage gave her the authority to do so. And she learned that it was better that the boy did not recall some of this damning information. What he did was so powerful that it was like sealing off a piece of your own mind. They were worried that there would be some side effects of what would, prolong this memory tampering in the future, but it wasn't something that was theoretically done, like how Inoichi could seal away memories. Naruto was aware, but he simply stunted himself enough to make sure that these memories did not come back to haunt him. How he was doing this at his age was, it should be impossible, but the boy was spectacular. Mentally, he was someone that could rival some of the greatest mental physicians in understanding things about himself and about them by simply using his words. He was incredibly smart. Hiruzen spoke to the boy on several occasions, trying to build a repertoire between them, to learn more about him, to understand everything, as he wanted Naruto to know that he was safe, and this place was his home. And just like that, Naruto started to integrate himself within Konoha society. He told them what he's capable of, and how far his strength had reached him, and how much of the Nine-Tails power that he could control at his age. The citizens were not aware of him, as they saw him as a normal child. Having believed that the Nine-Tails was dead, after all, there was no reason to inform them about Naruto when Naruto was taken, so yes, that has vanished away. Strangely enough, it had a good perspective on many. Knowing that the beast was completely gone, it made them happy to not be reminded of their pain and suffering. So many of them started to move on with their life some time ago, and that made them happy, looking forward to the future despite still holding the loss of the people in their heart. They were actually moving forward. So that was beneficial for them all, not just Naruto. Time skip. Walking down the hallway was a man known as Ayanokoji as he entered into a lab. On the table was unconscious people, 3 to be quite exact. Orochimaru of the Sannin was standing there. All personnel has been moved to the unrequited bases. He said to the Sannin, "Good," Orochimaru said. "But my lord, he's given them every single information on all the bases that he has visited." "What if he..." "No," Orochimaru said. "There's nothing to worry about, Kabuto. Everything will be just fine. I know that you don't trust him. Neither do I. In fact, if you trust that boy, you would make a sad, silly mistake. At the same time, as he cannot be trusted, his development and actions, it's only focused on himself. It will take time, but sooner or later, he will be back. Perhaps for my head, perhaps yours, or everyone here." Kabuto narrowed his head hearing that. Orochimaru had a rather strange relationship with Naruto Uzumaki. He was someone that Orochimaru could not figure out. Yes, you heard that right. Despite having the boy from a baby growing up, from he was a baby, Orochimaru had a hard time understanding that boy. One might think that Orochimaru made him that way. Well, there was a percentage of Naruto that turned out this way because of the Sannin, but that child was born unnatural, strange. Orochimaru simply made it worse. So yes, Orochimaru did not seem concerned or worried that Naruto was now in Konoha custody. That he knew things that he should not. The Sannin did not seem to care. Even the fact that Naruto wanted him dead. And yet he seemed so calm about it. Why? Well, there was many reasons for that. As the Sannin returned back to what he was doing. Back at the village, the quest end phase had come to an end, it seems. As Hiruzen himself wanted to see what Naruto was capable of. He spoke about his time with the Sannin, but his details about his training was something that Hiruzen wanted to see with his own eyes. Face to face with Naruto was an Anfu. His name was Kuma. Kuma was a special Anfu because he had expertise in many different fields, allowing him to be the perfect substitution for a down man because he specialized in so many different areas. So if there is anyone that they would need to test Naruto, Kuma would be your man. Hiruzen stood in front of Naruto, as this was something that was private. The three of them were the only ones that were going to observe what was going to take place here. Hiruzen wanted to know exactly how much Orochimaru had taught Naruto. It would go a long way to truly understanding everything about the boy. He wanted Naruto to simply show him what he was capable of. They had not discussed the venture of the Nine-Tails power just yet. For now, it was everything that he can do. Hiruzen stepped back as Kuma stood there, his arms folded. He was wearing a bear mask. He was a well-built man as he looked at Naruto. Well, kid, let's see how fast you adapt to situations, he said. There was no warning or nothing at all. He dashed at Naruto. His speed was incredible. He reached Naruto in a second. Given the distance, that wasn't impressive, but Naruto was younger than him by a lot. He then proceeded to bring his fist down as Naruto crossed his arms. Kuma was going to drop his fist on Naruto, but at the last possible moment, Naruto slipped away, impressing both of the men. He purposely made it seem like he would try to catch said fist, but in turn, he slipped away at the last moment, flipping around Kuma by using the man's own body weight against him. However, Kuma was still much stronger and faster as he grabbed Naruto's leg and brought him down into the ground, slamming his back against the earth. Kuma then released Naruto as he brought his other hand down, only for Naruto to roll away and jump. Once again, Kuma reached for his leg, but this time Naruto swapped his legs around and kicked Kuma's hand away. Kuma backed away, testing Naruto's physical responses. He was impressed. The kid learned and adapted rather quickly. Seeing his attack and movements one time, he learned how to go around it by swapping his legs without even looking. Hiruzen was more impressed as he stood there. It seems like it wasn't only Naruto's intellect that was very impressive. Kuma dropped into a fighting stance and attacked Naruto, despite his smaller size. Given the fact that he was much taller than most kids his age, and much more well built, Kuma was simply much bigger, as he was 6'3", and his muscular form provided the advantage that Naruto did not possess. However, Naruto traded blows with him, using fighting styles that Hiruzen had never seen before, as he started to realize that, analyzing each blows, it wasn't just one fighting style, it was many that was twisted and combined together, created one that he's never seen before, an alteration of fighting style. In the end, Kuma pushed Naruto away, causing Naruto to flip back, agile like a monkey, slippery like a snake, and fast like a cheetah. The three attributes about his fighting style. Kuma went through hand sign. He took in a deep breath before he fired a massive water bullet towards Naruto. Already going through hand sign of his own, Naruto released his hand outwards. When released, he said, "Gale Palm." A burst of wind destroyed the water attack, as Kuma had released a weaker attack on purpose. He then did the same thing, but the attack was 3 times stronger, as Naruto evaded, allowing them to see that he was able to understand the dexterity and the buildup of chakra differently. He was a sensor as well. Impressive. The next moment though, Naruto came to a stop. As Hiruzen watched him, Kuma had placed Naruto under a genjutsu as he slowly advanced towards the boy. Upon reaching him, Kuma reached out. However, Naruto reached for the weapon on his thigh. Kuma was surprised as Naruto pulled it out and jumped away. He then threw it when he jumped, trying to create a misleading direction. However, Kuma knocked it away with a brace on his arm. Hiruzen was even more impressed. Naruto had broken out of the genjutsu. However, he pretended like he was still under it in order to catch his opponent off guard. His mind worked in very clever ways for a child. But not only that, performing that high precise wind release technique so easily, the technique hand sign was even shortened for much faster use. Naruto was more impressive than they thought. Kuma tests every single area with Naruto, just to see the limitations that he possessed. And in doing so, Kuma was impressed. For a child so young, he believed that Naruto had a bright future ahead of him, a future in Anvu. His refined skills that were breeded for assassination and ending the target quickly were plain as day. However, Hiruzen did not want to venture down that alley just yet. But they were both satisfied with what they've seen today. A standard written test was given afterwards. Not a written test on Konoha, that would be unfair. Just to test Naruto knowledge in other things, other areas, maths, scientific developments and all of that. And the child got 70%. Scoring 7 questions out of the 10, failing 3. His answers that he wrote down were not the answers that were needed, but they were complex, unusual, which led to another round of understanding with the team that Hiruzen had selected for this venture, consisting of Hayashi, Kurenai, Ibiki, and Inoichi. As he sat down with them, he would like to know what do they think. Hiruzen wanted to place Naruto with the graduating team that was going to graduate this year. He wanted to place Naruto a part of that, to make him gain experience, to have him blend in with kids his own age as well. Going down this path of complete, lonely isolation was something that Hiruzen had noticed for the past couple of months. Despite giving Naruto free roaming in the village, yes, he was being watched, but he did not socialize with others his own age, as he seemed to take on the personality of a loner, someone that would rather stray away from everything. Hiruzen was once told by the wielder of the nine tails. The first wielder that, to calm the beasts, it was not just about physical stature but emotional as well. The connections that you make. Hope. Hope to knowing that you have people behind you. That is what Mito Uzumaki had told him. He wanted to ensure that Naruto had a normal life as well. Despite being a shinobi, despite what he's been through. Kurenai actually believed that it was best having him socialize with others to see how he would adapt to his environment. However, she was a bit concerned that his advanced way of learning and understanding things would cause him to manipulate those around him to do his own bidding. However, Hiruzen already had someone there to watch Naruto in this venture. So with that, they all signed off on it, as they believed that it was the right thing. Hiruzen simply wanted their opinion, and they gave him that. However, Inoichi was second-guessing some of his earlier thoughts with them. He believed that Naruto should not finish his sessions with him. They should still learn to develop and understand more about him. Hiruzen agreed on that. Having Naruto see him twice out of the week, he supposed, would be for the best, allowing him to adapt to new situations and environments. That would be for the best. As Naruto was given this news, he was already given an apartment on where to stay, expenses until he could be able to provide for himself. As he didn't have much, he came here with a scalpel, nothing more. So yes, things were given to him some time ago. As Naruto was getting dressed, it was his first day at the academy. Granted, it was a few weeks left before graduation. The children were mostly turning 13. He was now 13 years old, having achieved that in the months being here. It was time that they venture out as ninjas. As Naruto got himself ready, getting dressed, his clothing wasn't complex. It was simple but at the same time, well prepared. He was prepared for anything. The dark colors provided a very good atmospheric blend that would provide good cover in case of an attack. Despite being within the village though, as Naruto gazed within the mirror, his reflections start to warp and change, showing him something that wasn't actually there but something that could only be seen through his own eyes. His eyes turned blood red, his canines enlarged, his whiskers thickened, his hair grew more ecstatic, the outline of his lip became darker. Is this it? His reflection spoke back to him. This is boring, he said. Is this the big result of returning back to this village? Where is the fun? Where is the excitement? Not everything is fun. Not everything is excited. Naruto's voice never truly raised. Even since returning back to the village, he didn't smile. It seems like during his conversations with the others, they failed to notice that because he did not want them to notice that. They believed that they got him pegged, that they understood the kind of person that he was, but they were dead wrong. Then what is the point? His reflection said back to him of leaking that information just to return back to this boring place. Soon enough I'll become a ninja. I'll be able to fight people, so that should sway some of your hunger for battle. You're bored, yes, but I'm not. That's because you're not human, the reflection said. Come on now, aren't we going a bit overboard? I've seen many things in my time on this planet, and out of all the crazy messed up things that I've been able to witness, you might be the worst out of them all. A being like you, should not even exist. And at the same time you do. You keep on saying things like that, but you know, I'm indeed real. I'm a human. A normal human boy. His reflection chuckled at him. Normal? Give me a break. You were right under the Sanin's nose. And yet he had no idea that you were the one that somehow found a way to leak your whereabouts to the other Sanin spy network. That you were the one that gave away this information so that Konoha would find you. You have those people already wrapped around your finger, believing if they could trust you or not, telling them the truth. You're even able to lie to those eyes, the Byakugan. You've learned about them. You know what they're capable of. Do you think that anyone else, any human, can possibly lie to the eyes? Do you believe that you're so much of an expert, or perhaps you're just not human? You know, your jokes are not funny, said Naruto. And if anyone should not be saying that, you shouldn't. After all, you're not exactly human. Of course not. It's not like I want to be. Being a human is pointless and boring. All these restrictions, all these rules that you have to follow. Me, on the other hand, I have no such thing. You say that, and yet you're bound to someone. His reflection glared at him. I suppose you can say that is a good thing for being a human. Although, we can be sealed as well. But that is not important, I suppose. Enough of this mindless dribble. What about the plan? The goal? Just because you start a new venture, does that mean you're going to start over? Of course not. Everything is right where I need them to be. In fact, being in a village with people that are at least 10 times stronger than your average shinobi within Orochimaru ranks, except for those elites, will provide a better stimulus for myself to obtain in what I always desire. And it doesn't matter what I'll have to do to get that. Well, who am I talking to? You know me better than everyone else, so I suppose I don't have to be saying much about that. Keep in mind, slow and steady always win the race. And stop complaining that much. You're a 1,000-year-old being that cannot be killed by normal concentries that us puny humans can be defeated by. So stop your whining. You have the gall to speak to me like that. Once again prove that you're no mere human. I suppose you're right. Well, Kurama, let's start our new venture here. There's a lot to unfold. A lot of people to use. A lot to set in my path. Behind Naruto's reflection was a blonde-haired man and a red-haired woman. They were Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. They were shouting and banging against the mirror. However, the reflection seemed to be behind Naruto's reflection, as they were trying desperately to break through wherever they are. However, Naruto simply finished fixing his clothing. As he walked away, his reflection and theirs vanishing as well. As he made his way to his first day of the academy, Orochimaru was right about one thing. Not even he could understand Naruto or control him. However, during his experiments, during his goal to become immortal, a being above death itself, he's gone and created something truly monstrous. Perhaps his reflection that was Kurama was correct. Perhaps he wasn't a human. As he made his way. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs on the other channels. I'll be leaving the links down in the description, so go ahead, check them out and enjoy. But I'm out for now, see you guys soon, peace.